Beaming out across the galaxy, this is where conspiracy on the wild side meets the perspective of a lifetime. This is the Free Zone with your host, Freeman.
Hello and welcome to the Free Zone. I don't know if that word is ever going to take on the same meaning anymore. Now, you guys, I did come in here last week with Greg Reese, and I discussed that I thought Trump. Well, I said some good things about Trump, all right, and I said some good things about Alex Jones, and it was so twisted. But I got a lot of love for it. So I don't want to discredit anything that I said. But the truth of the matter is that I said Trump felt like the very first president that would not stand in our way. So, I mean, if that's supporting Trump, then okay. But what I'm saying is it's up to us. And Trump feels like a person that wouldn't get in our way. That's all. That's what I really was saying. And then as far as AJ and him rolling around in a tank, trying to get the attacks from the government, I say this is the exact opposite way we should be doing things, right? We need to be sensible. We need to be just courageous, good watchmen of civilization. And so just like so many other things get twisted around to fall into the belief systems, we got to realize that there is a schedule. There is a grand scheme of things, and the corptocracy, the fascist state that's coming down, has been forming around us forever and ever. But there are cycles that these guys like to use to introduce their concepts, to bring us into this new world, and it takes time. And we ask that question, where is your line? Where is the line that you will not cross? And I realized that mine, my line that I would not cross was when a corporation, a restaurant I worked for, forced me to perform the Macarena for birthday guests. That was my limit. No. So imagine them telling me to tell people they can't walk in the store with a mask on or without a mask on. I won't even do the Macarena. I walked away from corporatocracy at that point, man. Nobody's going to belittle and lower me to that level. I won't. So the Macarena was my limit, just to put that in there. And we need to start to recognize that there is this much larger picture going on. We have been micro-focused on COVID and coronavirus, that we are losing sense of what actually is going on all around us. UFOs, asteroids, craziness, high magic, celebrities without their adrenochrome, you name it, this is going on. So I thought there could be no better than Wayne McRoy to come and just discuss life on planet Earth in this high strangeness. And let's witness ordinary people doing extraordinary things. So please welcome to the show, Wayne McRoy. Hey, Wayne.
Hey, Freeman. Thanks for having me back on again, man. Good to talk to you.
Yes. Well, thank you for letting me let all that out. I tell you, it's a very heated world out there, and you don't know what puddle to put your foot in, which one's going to burn.
Yeah, that's true.
Crazy.
It's more polarized than ever before. I've never seen anything like it in my entire life.
Me either. The Trump derangement syndrome, as they call it. Really well, I go all the way back to the derangement of Obama. Oh my God, that was like, they were in reverence. This was
they still are.
Well, they still are.
Yeah, that's what gets me. And then you throw Joe Biden in the mix now. Man, I'll tell you, I don't know how do you Democrats not see that this is the guy that was handpicked for you? This is who you're getting. Whether you wanted, say, Bernie Sanders or whoever it was you wanted, and, the grassroots largely supported Bernie Sanders, but here they're handing you Joe Biden, and he can't even, speak intelligently about anything. Have you ever listened to that whole corn pop thing he went on about? Oh, my heavens.
17 minutes of Joe is a video out there. Oh my God. You gotta watch it if you haven't seen 17 Minutes of Joe. I mean, hello? This is the guy. I mean, there's just no way they would they? See, okay, Wayne, this has been my whole thing. Like when this happened, when coronavirus lockdown and everything came around, I didn't believe it, right? Like, even as it's happening, I'm thinking, and I predicted it, 12 years ago or something. I didn't predict it. It was just, we know this is what was coming. And yet when it happened, I'm like, nah, because this is too over the top. Like, it's supposed to creep in. They're not supposed to just show their hand like this. So, I started looking for all the other reasons that would push them to suddenly do this. So before we go deeper, I want to get the folks to know who you are and how you and I kind of ended up sitting here in this seat, because we have a similar tale. As in our youth, we discovered mystery. We thought life was very strange. Now, for me, it kind of went the other way around. I learned of Freemasonry and secret societies in community college back in '91. And all of a sudden, my world was changed. And at that moment, I recognized the signs and symbols of Freemasonry and realized they were in my dad's top drawer, in his sock drawer. All these secret signs that this dude was showing me. Now, this is before Da Vinci Code and all of that. Nobody knew none of this, right? This was like deep esoteric stuff. And we didn't even know what the word esoteric meant, but so suddenly in '91, I discovered the secret societies. I discovered that there was magic. I discovered that my dad was one. Then I discovered my dad was chasing flying saucers, and Project Blue Book was on Killer One with Jimmy Carter and the first killer submarine. And my dad was hooked up in all this stuff and building nukes when I was a kid. But then in '93, okay, so 2 years later, I have this major UFO experience. I'm out on Daytona Beach. I'm sitting on a lifeguard stand. It's spring break. It's 10 at night. And me and my friend are sitting on a lifeguard stand watching the ocean before we hit the strip to go hit the spring break party. Behind us, just a block away, visible to us, is just hordes of people going up and down the strip of Daytona, spring break craziness, right? And we're sitting out there, we just drove there. It's an hour, 2-hour trip. So we're taking a break at the lifeguard stand, and this giant rectangle is hanging out over the ocean. It looks like a giant translucent red light, but it's rectangled and it's giant. If I could say that again, it's really big. And we're just sitting there pointing at it. And I don't know, we're just sitting there. I remember looking at my finger as I pointed at it. And then I remember my finger following it as it went away, but I don't remember seeing the craft ever move. And we were just blown away. We're like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And we wanted to go run and tell all those thousands of people that were milling down the strip on Daytona. And we ran to the street and it was completely empty. It was like we had entered the twilight zone. Thousands of people had just suddenly vanished. Were we in a new reality? Had all these people been abducted? Were we suddenly somewhere else in another dimension, in the reverse anti-universe or something? What just happened? Where did everybody go? There were thousands of people, and David Copperfield suddenly showed up or something. We don't know. So we start walking down the street and we're trying to figure it out. And eventually a group of kids come our way and we're like, hey man, where is everybody? And they're like, dude, it's 3 a.m. And we're like, what? So we had lost all that time from 10 to 3 a.m. And then I didn't remember this. Well, no, there were parts that, okay. So it turns out that the friend that this happened with back in '93 has lived everywhere I lived since then. And neither one of us knew it. To the point that he lives in South Carolina right now. He lived in Texas when I was putting on the TV show. He lived in Kansas when I lived there. He lived here now. And we're just blown away because we suddenly found each other again on Facebook. And like, he doesn't really remember a lot, but he said, do you remember seeing Future Orlando? And I don't, I kind of do. But yet from that moment on, it seemed like I had been shown a vision of the future and I couldn't remember it, but when I would see key signs and symbols that it would trigger, and I would tell the world, hey, there's going to be a major terrorist attack on 9/11. Don't freak out. This is all for your reaction. And I don't know that I'm right. I don't know that this is true, but everything had guided me logically to say this is where things are going. But it all kind of stemmed up out of this massive UFO experience that I have no recollection of, and I don't know what happened. And so what happens now is people like you and I, we have these extraordinary situations in our lives, and it alters us forever. And Wayne, tell us how you ended up, and please give the titles of your books and writing those.
All right. Well, basically, as a child growing up, I'd always had an interest in paranormal type topics and UFOs and things of that nature. But as I grew older, I kind of got away from that a little bit, and just was more concerned with normal day-to-day things. I met my wife and wound up getting married. I was a born-again Christian at that point, walked away from all the paranormal and UFO stuff for a long time. And then back in 2006, I had a UFO encounter one night. Was something kind of similar to what you're saying. It was a square-shaped UFO, and it just silently went overhead. It had a white light on each corner and one larger red light in the center. And it was moving very slow, and it was only about maybe 30 or 40 feet above the treetops. And I pulled over because my oldest son was with me at the time. He was probably about 12 years old, 13 at the time. So we pulled over because the car I had at that point had a power moonroof. So we pulled over and opened the moonroof. And we watched this thing go overhead, and we could both clearly see it was square shaped. It was definitely a metallic craft, and it was totally silent. It was moving very, very slowly, like I would say creeping along maybe 10 to 15 miles an hour. And I still to this day don't really know what it was. I mean, we didn't have any missing time or anything like that, like with your story there, but it definitely left an impression on me. So it renewed my interest in the UFO topic. And from there, once I started researching the UFO topic again more heavily, the research paths that I wound up going down led a whole lot of different places than what I originally anticipated they would. And that's when I got involved into studying secret societies and all of the occult and esoteric aspects of that, going back to the ancient mystery schools and things of that nature. So this is kind of the incidents that really started it for me. But then a couple years later, in 2008, my other son, I have 6 kids altogether, but this would be my second oldest. He had his DTaP vaccine and had a very severe reaction to it and nearly died in front of our eyes. And then he later developed autism. So that sent me searching down another avenue of research that I hadn't previously looked at. But lo and behold, guess what? It all links together anyway. So it's weird how when you start following these rabbit holes to their inevitable end, you find all the same stuff, and it all ties back to occultism, secret societies, esoteric things, things of that nature, and the fact that there's a coming technocracy and the power structure thereof. So that's kind of how I got started on the research that I did. Currently, I do have 2 books out in publication. The first one is called The Alchemical Tech Revolution, Fulfilling Ancient Esoteric Agendas Through the Use of High Technology. And my more recent book is called The Autism Epidemic, Transhumanism's Dirty Little Secret. Those are both available on Amazon or at pretty much any other fine book retailer. And right now, I'm currently involved in writing my 3rd book. And this one is going to be titled Cybernetic Messiah, Building the Antichrist System. So that one should be releasing sometime later this summer. I was going to release it this past spring, but with everything going on with this COVID-19 and how it all ties together with the things I'm writing about, I had to hold off and include all this in with what I'm already writing. So I'm not sure as to a release date for that just yet, but I do plan on trying to get it out sometime in the summertime. So from there, that's kind of how I got my start, and that's where I go. And primarily the topics that I research and look at, they all tie together with transhumanism, and that's where everything is eventually leading. That's what the ancient mystery schools were looking for way back when. It's what culminates now with the use of these high technologies into this technocracy that's coming and this control grid that they're setting up in real time in front of our eyes right now. So it's a heck of a time to be alive.
It really is. It's downright unbelievable. Extraordinary doesn't even, unprecedented doesn't even. It's it's the grand hurrah finale, and like I say, I didn't really believe it. Like, nah, they're not just gonna do this, right? Like they're gonna slowly just creep it in. They can't just force it on us. I mean, even though we knew this was the perfect scenario, did you hear about the DoD meeting in 2005? I've got the video, and I'll include it in the show notes. The removal of the God gene using vaccinations.
Oh yeah, that's the one where they it pretty much it'll remove what is it? It's like a
Religious
chemical lobotomy.
fervor.
Yeah,
Right.
it's like a chemical lobotomy. Yes, I've seen that. That's pretty disturbing in and of itself. But yeah, they definitely have a lot of different things that they could use. The technologies, the state of technologies that people aren't aware of that they do have available right now is just unbelievable. Uh, Most of it's hidden and tied up in like black budgets projects and special access programs, things of that nature that are kept hidden from the public. But the technologies that they're rolling out right now, this is like 30 years old plus. People need to understand that. So the real state of the technologies they have are probably far in advance of what we're seeing on the public side of things. But I was just going to say, basically, when I saw this whole thing starting to roll out, my reaction was the same as yours. Like, I couldn't, even though we've been talking about this stuff for years now and know it's coming, I still couldn't believe that they were actually doing this.
Right.
It's hard to believe. It really is.
It really, really is. And I was just going to toss in how many things they've brought out into the public and nobody seems to even notice, like genetically altering sheep so that it will grow human body parts, or the animal human hybrids that they are promoting and showing. They have now cloned genetically hybridized humans with sheep, pigs, cow, which pretty much shows you what they think of humans.
Yeah, it really does.
Domestic animals. But so openly, they're still showing us this singularity, technocracy, this combination of science with humanity. And no one's really noticing that they have artificial wombs. So the animals, I think it was sheep. Something in my brain's telling me a deer. I think maybe a deer came out of the artificial womb, but also the human body part generating animals are also grown out of artificial wombs. So here we are with coronavirus. Okay, so when I'm looking at the death rate and I'm looking at what's going on, it seems nil. It seems it's a 99% survivability illness, and I don't know why everybody's freaking out. But then you see a report from the military saying if you have recovered from COVID-19, you will never be allowed into the military. That's when it starts to get a little freaky. Like, wait a minute. And then there's the testicular problems that are occurring, the lack of potency in male fertility, then the bizarre Kawasaki COVID toes thing going on with the children. And so, at one point I'm just like, this isn't anything but a cold. And then I see something like that military report saying that you will never join the military if you've recovered from COVID-19. So, I don't know, man. I know you don't know, but this is where it starts to get really strange.
Oh, it definitely is strange. I mean, there's nothing about this whole scenario that isn't strange. I mean, when you look at it, it's basically it's got a survivability rate somewhere close to 99%. And when you look at that on the face of it, it's not justification for a worldwide lockdown, but yet that's exactly what they're doing. So, you have to wonder what's the deal with this. And then if the military is saying you can't join the military if you've had this and recovered from it, that makes you have to start questioning things too.
And then announced that he's taking hydroxychloroquine.
Yeah, why would you take that if you don't have any symptoms or anything? Like that doesn't even make sense. It's not a protective measure. It's a treatment, and that's the whole thing. So, once again, it's one of those things where we get so much disinformation about this that we don't know what to believe or what to do. And this is by design because they want us in this state of ignorance. This is a simple concept called gaslighting, and that's exactly what they're doing to us right now. One day they tell you, oh, the numbers are way high. Then the next day they tell you the numbers are way low. Wear a mask. Don't wear a mask. It only affects old people. Oh, it affects children now too. Oh, you could only get this if somebody coughs on you or sneezes on you. Oh, you could get this from an asymptomatic person. It's to keep you confused. See, in creating this confusion, they first of all, they keep you very easily controllable that way. And second of all, their hopes for doing this, for this whole gaslighting, is so that you shut down and don't know what to do, so you do nothing. And that's what they want. They want you to do nothing. Well, they start rolling out this control grid that they're putting in place around this thing. So that's what it's all about. That's why you see so many contradictory things in the media all the time about this, because that's what they want you to do, is to just shut down and be inactive and do nothing about it because you don't know what to do. So instead of actually like protesting or anything, maybe you'll just sit in your house under a blanket and hide in your bedroom and watch Netflix. That's exactly the scenario they want. They want you to just stay indoors and pretend like, everything's going to be okay. And they could just go ahead and do whatever it is that they have planned covertly in the background.
My statement that Trump would stand out of our way if we wanted to make a move made me question, well, what would I do? If I wanted to change the world right now and Trump wouldn't stop me and I could gather the forces necessary, 500,000 people gathered together in the streets of protest to protest the WTO IMF. People got shot. People got hit with bean bags and rubber bullets and tear gas and all of that to stand in the way of the IMF and WTO. If we now have this power where we could actually transform life as we know it, but it would require all of us to then take action. And that is where we're lost, right? Like, what action do we take? Do we go after the rapist pedophiles? Do we do it all? Do we just get rid of the elite altogether? Can we make little baby steps? I don't know. That question to me, when I realized that Trump might stand out of our way, led me to, well, what would I really want to change? Well, I probably begin with debt, right? Like, let's just cancel that. Right. Everybody has the house that they have. Everybody has, what they have, and we'll go from there. That was the first thing that popped into my mind, was just being free to stay where I am.
Right. And that's actually, see, there could be some good that comes out of this, because if we do start speaking up in high enough numbers like this, we could totally turn this thing around. Maybe we could come up with solutions like that, like eliminate all of the debt. Like back in biblical times, back in the Bible, they talk about the Jubilee year. Maybe we need something like that. That's when everybody's debts are forgiven and they start over with a clean slate. The slaves are set free, and that's that. You start over with a clean slate. Maybe we could do something like that with our monetary system. That way, this whole economic collapse, quote unquote, might actually turn out to be nothing. I mean, if everybody who was indebted to somebody else, if their debts were all wiped clean and forgiven and we start over fresh, then everybody has a new start. Everybody's on equal footing, and we can move forward. And that would be a wonderful thing. And, it's a possibility that could come to fruition if enough people stand up and say something and we make the right decisions here and kick the people that are in power out of power, because they absolutely are part of the problem. But I mean, it's one of those things. I don't have all the answers, but I agree with you. We do need to take action. Now is the time to do something. And whether it's just speaking out on a platform like this, like we are, or whether it's, trying to organize something together, like a protest or something, there are things we could do. But I would suggest just your day-to-day living. Here's what I would suggest. First of all, Don't just go along to get along and follow the directives and orders they're giving you. Like right here, right now, our governor has a directive out that everybody has to wear a mask in public. I won't do it. I'm not wearing a mask out in public. I've gotten very little pushback for it. So it's not something that most of them are willing to stand up and say, hey, I'm not letting you in here. You're not wearing a mask. Most of them aren't going to do that because when it comes down to it, these businesses, they need your business to survive. So they're not going to they're not going to turn you away. They need your money. So if enough people do just that one thing, just show them this symbol that you're making me wear on my face that I'm submissive, I'm not wearing it. That's usually enough of a kick in the nuts for the power structure to back down a little bit. If you don't go along with what they're saying, or just to even speak out to people, question things. Like, question the whole narrative. It doesn't make sense. This whole social distancing thing they're doing right now, there is absolutely zero epidemiological evidence to support the fact that it does anything to reduce any kind of spread of disease whatsoever. Nothing. It's all based upon computer models that somebody came up with. That's it. Nothing more. Based upon people coughing or sneezing or whatever, and put into a computer model to try and figure out how this might spread. So they came up with this rule, 2 meters or 6 feet, and it's just an arbitrary number.
Yeah. One thing that it does do is allow proper spacing for facial recognition technologies.
Absolutely. You nailed it right there. And that's a lot of what's going on because they are quietly, well, I shouldn't say quietly, they're pretty overt with it right now. They've been quietly in the background for years now, putting this whole infrastructure in place. But right now they're really rolling it out hardcore. And that's what it's all about. It's about an AI-directed surveillance system that will pretty much control every aspect of your life from cradle to grave if we let it go into effect here. And they're tying it to your genetic material. And that's a lot of the reasoning behind this whole COVID testing and that kind of stuff, because they're collecting your genetic material to put in a database. And that's what people need to understand. That's why they're rolling this all out. And this whole vaccine thing that they're coming out with, it's all bad news for any of us that have been looking at this for any length of time. This is all bad news. We've been saying this is coming. And even though we've known about it and known it's coming for a long time, it's still hard for us to believe as we're seeing it unfold in real time.
Yeah.
But this is the whole thing. I mean, this is a really dangerous situation we're seeing come to fruition right now, because once they get that control grid in place, you're not going to have any privacy or individuality left whatsoever. And that's a big thing right there. They're going to strip away what it means to be human with this. And it's all about transhumanism and that next step in human evolution, as they call it, to post-human. So this is, largely the things that I write about because, if the writing's on the wall, we've seen it coming for a long time. And up until this point, they've really been pushing things very slowly in little increments at a time. And this is a concept called the Overton window. They just shift an idea into the mainstream just a little bit further at a time. And they introduce more and more bizarre ideas to the public very gradually, so that, okay, well, this sounds totally bizarre, but this sounds totally acceptable. So you can see how this happens with a lot of this stuff. But right now they're rolling it out really fast. So people have accepted this whole idea of when you go out in public, put on a mask. This has all been rolled out in the past 2 months now. And, social distancing, plexiglass everywhere.
They had all the phrases ready. Social distancing, definitely. Distance learning. They had all the terminology ready and raring to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Contact tracing. That's the big one coming up next. And I'm telling people,
6666.
Yeah, isn't that something? That's a slap in the face too. The way that they use this, the number of the beast to actually bring this stuff into fruition.
Yeah, so it seems that the Gates patent for the nano chip that comes with the vaccine.
0606.
Yeah. And then they told us all of this in Star Wars with Jar Jar Binks and the shutdown of Congress that they had when they lost control of the Republic to the Empire. All of that's actually going on right now as they're trying to state that a quorum only takes 2 people in Congress because nobody can go to Congress. So that was in Star Wars. When when we come out, just talking about social engineering, when I grew up at Disney World, my mom knew Walt Disney. They helped them acquire the land there and everything. And I actually have some stuff that was originally handed to my mom by Walt Disney. But anyway, I grew up in Walt Disney World. You know, I was one of the very first people to ever step on Epcot. And I grew up in Walt Disney. Every time we'd ride Space Mountain because it was the coolest ride in Disney. Everything else is pretty boring other than Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, but even that's just boring. But so we go on Space Mountain. Everybody, millions of people go on Space Mountain. And this before Epcot existed. And I went and looked, and they have changed the ending of Space Mountain now. So that what I'm going to describe here no longer exists. But as you exit, okay, so you go on a roller coaster, you get traumatized, right? You enjoy it, but you're getting traumatized. You're being put into an altered state of mind. How about that? All right. And you ride this roller coaster, it alters your chemicals, it gets you all stimulated, and then you're put onto this nice, soft people mover. Now, as you step out of the car of the roller coaster, you'll notice on the wall a big MK1. That just happens to be the landing bay that you're in, MK1, right? Mind control right there on the banner. So you walk out and they put you on this nice soft people mover, and you just start getting coasted down after you're in the excitement of your whole roller coaster ride. And they start showing us what our future is going to be. Now, folks, this is 1970s, right? And it's built by Monsanto. This exit Parsh is a Disney Monsanto connection, but they show you exactly what's going to come, and it's this child learning from its teacher on a television because we didn't have computers. They had all your agriculture growing in your kitchen. You had these weird microwave dishwashers and things that all the future, and they laid it all out. But then as you exit this future vision, in your traumatized state, the last thing that happens is there's just a ton of cameras, like 20 cameras pointing at you, and they're just showing you on every screen as you exit the building. And I'm trying to tell people, go watch Chicken Little. Go watch Chicken Little. Did you guys go watch it? I hope. You know, I put it in the last show post. I give you what I can. It's up to you to use it. But go watch Chicken Little because Disney's so deep in all of this. And I didn't know I was going to go here with this, Wayne, but I'll get your opinion on this. Disney and Q. I don't know if you do Q at all. I don't do Q a lot, but I've always considered it a mind control tool because it doesn't actually give you information. It just gives you things to guess on, and then it's up to the belief bias of the reader to decide what it means. So I call that ultra crepidarianism. But Disney is now producing a number of shows, and there's the new Scoob movie. I don't think that's Disney, but the new Scoob movie shows all the Scooby characters sitting around a computer with a big Q on it. And then Disney in Onward, their lead character has a big Q on the chest. And so I'm starting to see this Disney Q connection going on with the mind control that they have been doing since the 70s to inject us into this technocracy. Any thoughts?
Yeah, my whole opinion of the whole Q thing is I think it's more of a, I don't know, I'd hate to say psychological warfare operation, but that's my view of what it is. It's just, it's a controlled narrative from the other side. And like you said, it doesn't actually ever give you any factual information or real information. It just gives you these possible scenarios. Okay. It makes you think about, well, you know, well, this whole thing's going on. The good guys in government are out there arresting these pedophiles and these deep state operatives and stuff and putting them on house arrest. And like, it's totally nonsensical to me. It's a distraction. There's no evidence or proof of any of that whatsoever. And there's nothing to suggest that's what's going on.
God, don't tell them that.
No, I know. And I mean, I'm sorry, we'll probably get some flack for this. This is just my view. I've looked at it, and I can't see where there's anything factual behind it. It's offering people hope, and I think that's the main reason why people really hang on to the narrative so much. But I don't see any supporting evidence of it, because like you said, it just basically this Q comes out, puts this weird thing on Reddit or whatever, or out on the internet wherever, and all of a sudden these
4chan.
people eat it up and spread it around, and there's really nothing to back it. So it's in my view, I think it's a trail that'll go cold if you follow it to its invariable end. Because in this day and age, like if there's somebody that's that close to the president and all the political power circles in Washington, I'm sure they've got to be very, very deeply blackmailable at this point. So they wouldn't be allowed to have free reign to do that. They watch the communications and stuff there very carefully. So you're talking. This is the home of the intelligence community, and the way that this stuff all interconnects there, they would not.
VPN, Wayne.
Yeah, VPN. That's not going to do anything. I mean, they could break all encryption at this point. There's no such thing like as a secure server anymore. There's no such thing. With the advent of quantum computers, they could break any encryption. That's just a given at this point. So a VPN or just doing things secretly and stuff like that, that's all basically it's a dream. Okay, it's not going to happen. There's not a government insider there that is covertly going around and nobody knows who it is, and they have all this intel and they're leaking it out without the intelligence agencies or the Washington power structure's knowledge. It's not happening. I'm sorry. I've seen too much evidence to the contrary that things like that don't happen. Any leaks that you get from government, they're intentional or they're allowed to be leaked. And a lot of times, this is actually a tool called a honeypot. And a lot of times that this is intentional disinformation. They put a little bit of good information along with a bit of disinformation. And they do this to see who within the power structure is the leak. They'll put a honeypot out there and see, they know exactly who has it and what they do with it. So that way they can see, is this person going to leak this intel? And that's exactly how they operate. So if Q is a real person that's leaking information, it's a honeypot scenario, and plain and simple. So if that's a real thing, it's controlled. Let's put it that way. It's controlled.
Yeah, it brings to mind another Disney movie, one that is banned in America, folks. Song of the South and Brer Rabbit and the Tar Baby. So there's another Disney connection to this. I decided to pull out the Golden Dawn Magical Tarot to just investigate Q from a Kabbalistic standpoint. So perhaps you'll enjoy this, Wayne. So the Q, the letter Q, Quaff, in Hebrew is the moon card in the tarot, right? And it's attributed to Pisces. Okay, so here's its esoteric titles: ruler of flux and reflux, child of the sons of the mighty, right? So the sons of the mighty, the sons of renown, the Nephilim, right? So it's ruler of flux and reflux. And it connects Netzach to Malkuth. Okay, Malkuth is Earth. Netzach, okay, if you guys aren't keeping up with all the shows and how all of this works, is there's a tree of life that has 10 nodes on it. Then there's lines that cross each of these circles to connect them. And each one of the lines that connects a dot is a card. It represents one of the cards in the tarot. And each of the dots is a metaphysical placement of mankind as the image of man changes. And as you move from earth to heaven, you go through these different nodes. So Netzach and Malkuth are nodes. They're the circles on the tree of life. And Malkuth is earth. But Netzach stands for victory, the realm of human instincts, emotions, and desires. It symbolizes the creative, emotional side of the human mind. A dynamic force which inspires us and drives us. So Netzach also is connected with the planet Venus. So again, Venus is Lucifer if you look it up in the dictionary, just pointing that out. And this happens to be the child of the sons of the mighty, which are the fallen. But anyway, so the key words to Q in the Hebrew Kabbalistic Golden Dawn ritual magic are subconscious mind and illusion. The related ideas are unconscious influences and impulses. Okay. Unconscious influences and impulses. So what's being programmed, right? Repressed ideas and desires, personal demons and self-created phantoms, the reptilian brain, evolution, and progression is the Kabbalistic definition according to the Golden Dawn of the letter Q. So,
And there you go.
there you go.
Another aspect of the letter Q is, how do you draw a letter Q? You make a circle and you break it with a line. It's a broken loop. It's a broken feedback loop, and that's what we live in all the time right now. It's a broken feedback loop. That's why they repeat these same cycles over and over and over again. And Q is a representative of that. And you're drawing from the Kabbalistic tree of life. There's also an 11th circle on that some people aren't aware of in some traditions, and that's called Daoth, or Darth, like as in Darth Vader, and that's where like Star Wars. Yeah. So that's where like Star Wars draws heavily upon some Kabbalistic influence as well. So I mean, there's a lot of interesting correlations there, definitely. And
you know what? The Mighty Ones. You just brought that to my mind. The Mighty Ones, according to the Magician's Dictionary, the fallen ones are numbered. The Kabbalistic number for them is 66. And so that's how I ended up predicting W would be forced into office, because in Hebrew, 6 is V, and V is W. So 66, execute order 66, the whole Star Wars programming, and now HR 6666. So all of that ties into Da'ath, or Darth,
right.
and the hidden Sephirah in this tree of life, which is in the G path, which is the Masonic compass square in G. The G path is that middle pillar that goes straight from earth to heaven, but is the most dangerous path to heaven, because you have to cross Da'ath, which is where the demons live, which is numbered in the number 66.
And in some circles, that's called crossing the abyss, and that's a reference to the veil as well.
Lives. It's for Typhonian magic. Okay, so now we get to the
Corona zone.
Templi.
You really Corona zone?
Right.
See the connection there, guys? I mean, it's amazing how all this stuff draws from occult influence. Corona, the crown. This is their crowning achievement, and this is why they've named it thus. This is what they're drawing from. See, people don't understand. There's a whole separate reality to all of this, and this is all the black magic being played upon us that people are largely unaware of, or just they don't believe that it exists. But this is where they draw heavy influence from, is from that reality. They draw all these energies together, just even in the namings of these things. We also discovered some different occult aspects of this as to how they've planned this whole thing out as well on Crow 777 radio. We looked at it by Crow and I both independently came to the conclusion when we saw that they had renamed this thing COVID-19. We saw Ovid 1 through 9. Ovid wrote a book called Metamorphosis, or a group of stories called Metamorphoses. And that's what we looked at. This is the playbook that they're drawing from. If you go back to these ancient Greek myths and look at all the things Ovid is talking about in that book, you could see the cycle of time that we're in, that they're utilizing, that they're leveraging off of to push these things forward into our reality right now. And this all ties back to that whole black magic-y kind of side of things too. And people need to be aware of this stuff, because by and large, people don't believe that this is anything that's real, because they've kind of been pushed that way by societal norms, like with the whole science paradigm and stuff like that. But this is legitimately something that the power structure looks at and utilizes heavily, very heavily.
Well, psychology plays a large role in all of this magical aspects. They're always calling upon Jung to find the right psychology to be able to perform these magical. So it's always been tied together with that as well.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, psychology is a huge part of it. And psychology is actually a derivative of some of the ancient alchemical sciences that go along with this stuff. And in fact, Jung was an alchemist, and he made no bones about that. So, he brought forward some of these alchemical ideas, and he's the one that's largely attributed with putting the term archetype into the narrative, like the modern mainstream narrative here today. And this is something that's drawn heavily upon by these social engineers that control our society. They use archetypal ideas to steer and control people. And this is something that people need to get a firm grip on. It's not completely 100% quote unquote science that they use all the time for everything. They're very familiar with human psychology. They know how to use various different foundations to draw from to control people. And this goes back once again to the secret societies and the ancient mystery schools. This is one of the biggest secrets that have been brought forward through the historical timeline, is how to control people. And they do this by using 4 different pillars. Okay, they use the pillars of philosophy, religion, science, and mythology. And these are the 4 pillars that they use for control, to control people. So they utilize these different ideas to steer the minds of people, or the public consciousness, if you will, in certain directions. And this is actually covered ad nauseum in a book called Changing Images of Man. And this was actually a think tank book. This was put forward by various people from the cybernetics group. And it was actually a paper that was written trying to study what they wanted the future images of man to look like, what they wanted our future society to look like. So they looked at the different possibilities of what kinds of societies can we build by looking back through our past history, like the accepted timeline of our history, to see what these different phases of society, what kind of belief systems and stuff they had. And they acknowledge in this work that things like mythology and various other subjective things could be used to change the image that man perceives of himself in the universe, his place in the universe, and who he is and what he is. And so they acknowledge very readily in this book that this is a very important tool for them to use for social control. So that's why the social engineers do the things they do, and it doesn't always seem to make sense or line up with what the quote unquote scientific understanding of psychology would be, because they use these different archetypal ideas like mythology and philosophy and religious ideas, these things along with scientific ideas, to steer the direction of man's mind. And this all goes back to consciousness studies and stuff too. And this all ties very heavily together with the study of artificial intelligence and the advent of artificial intelligence. And that's an important thing moving forward, because that's where we're going. This all stems together from these sources into something called transhumanism. And it's all about merging the human consciousness with an artificial intelligence. And this is where we're at. And that's why they're putting this power structure in place, this control grid, this technocracy. It's all going to be headed up by an artificial intelligence. And they plan on trying to combine man's consciousness together into a computing cloud, a hive mind, if you will, something that looks pretty similar to things presented to us in science fiction, like the Borg from Star Trek. A hive mind, all of human thought and collective knowledge together into one giant network that could be accessed by any one individual within the network. And it's an interesting thought. And there's there's real scientific papers and stuff out there that are touting this as a real possibility. And this is why you get things like Elon Musk's Neuralink project that he's working on. And there's several other BCI projects, that's brain computer interface for those that don't know what BCI is, that are in the works right now. That's the whole end game of it, is to be able to tie your consciousness, tie your brain into what they call a neocortex, a computerized neocortex, an artificial intelligence neocortex, which connects your brain directly to the internet. And that's one of the main reasons why they're rolling out this whole 5G network, because they need the data speed in order to roll out the Internet of Things. And of which of the Internet of Things, there's going to be a subsystem called the Internet of Thoughts. And that is something that people need to really look into, because it's a real thing. It's mentioned in real white papers. It's talked about in different technological ethical journals and things like that. Mm-hmm. So the next big thing people are going to be talking about is what they call cognitive liberty. So that's going to be a big hot key topic here within the next couple of years, cognitive liberty, because they're already reaching the point where they could use different technological devices to read your mind. And people don't seem to be aware of that. But for anybody that's listening, have you ever like had your phone and we're scrolling through Facebook and you come across an ad or something on there of something that you were thinking about buying, but didn't really say anything to anybody, or, didn't have a conversation about it?
Yes.
Happens all the time, right?
Yes.
Well, Facebook has openly admitted that they were working on some kind of a technology to read your mind. And I think they've, by and large, developed that technology through something called optogenetics. And this is actually where a computer monitor screen using a blue light could actually read the data waves being put forward from your brain. So, the simple act of you looking at the computer screen, it's reading your mind. I think that's happening now. They've said they were in development of it, but they never really came out and said, "Hey, we've been successful with it." They said it's in the lab being developed right now, but they never admitted that it's really going on yet. But that's kind of how this stuff works. They come out with it first and roll it out and test it first in real time, live on subjects without them knowing about it before they even acknowledge that it's a real thing. So they've been talking about this for a while, but yeah, this is something that's going on. They already have that capability right now. So what's the next step? Well, it's tying your entire thought process to the internet. And a lot of times the transhumanist proponents and the cyberneticists that are really looking to try and get this whole thing rolling, they would already argue the point that we're already cyborgs, but the only thing that's missing right now is the data speed to connect it up in real time. So it's the input output speed. So basically, instead of typing in your phone, if you could just think a thought and have it go that quickly, that's the speed they're looking for. And that's why they need like the 5G network, or the next generation after that, the 6th generation 6G network. That's what both of those networks are going to be working on, is this whole data speed at the speed of thought, data transfer at the speed of thought. That's what they need in order to roll this thing forward and more.
Amazing. And so if we were to look at this and bring it back to the 21st century Stone Age, the SRI, the Stanford Research Institute document that you're talking about with the image of man, what I hear you saying is basically they had to create a mentality of the corporate state to make us already bots, so that people are going to stand there and scorn you for not wearing your mask, or not let you into their store because their corporate masters have told them to stand in front of you, or even a jackbooted thug stepping on your neck. The image of man constantly changing to this automaton of the state or the corporation. In the psychological buildup, then to cognitive liberty. I love that, and I'm going to make a nice mark of that to watch. Cognitive liberty. When I was talking about Alex Jones last week, this was actually the point I was trying to make. Was they released his deposition online on YouTube. The lawyers actually just made the YouTube channel only to put up this deposition of Alex Jones as they were questioning him on Sandy Hook. But the point really was that they were taking sentences that he said 20 years ago and bringing it back to use against him. And we've never had to deal with that in all of humanity's existence. Like stuff you said 20 years ago, you might have a witness that might testify or say that you said that, maybe, but when we're in this digital age, cognitive liberty is already at peril, just because they can come, and believe me, every show I do, I think of, well, how are they going to use this against me in the future when they just take all this data and throw it back at me and say, you said this, you said this, you said this. And Alex Jones in that deposition was a perfect example of what it's like right now with the loss of cognitive liberty. And imagine what it's like when it's your thoughts.
Right. Precisely. That's the thing. Take it to the next level. It's not just something that you may have said in the past. Now you're talking about something that you may have thought about in the past that they could potentially bring up against you in the future, because that's the whole thing. When this whole system goes live, it'll be recording your thoughts in real time, and they'll have a record of that. They have these massive databases in places like Bluffdale, Utah, that the NSA has, and just all over the place that are recording and storing data for future use if they ever need it. So, it's crazy to think that maybe someday they could actually use your very thoughts against you, even if it was just a passing, fleeting thought. This is where something like the thought police becomes a very real idea. And, it's some scary times that we're coming upon, because the technology to do this exists. And right now, it's just a matter of getting the data transfer speed where it needs to be, so that they could actually collect your thoughts in real time and record them. So we're almost there. And that's where this whole transhumanist control grid is leading.
Absolutely. And, Foxy Loxy and Chicken Little, he reads through the book of psychology, and he reads from basically Mein Kampf, and says, if you're going to tell a lie, tell a big lie. And we're in that right now. And there were three lies that Werner von Braun had warned us about that could have been used in this current scenario and had similar effects but different outcomes. So the first being asteroids, right? So we had the Red Scare, terrorism. We went through those. The next would be, what was it? Asteroids, and then aliens, right?
Yep. I think that's how it went.
But if we were to fall in, and even the new Chicken Little, the Disney put out a new version of Chicken Little, and this one, it's a false alien invasion in the new Chicken Little. When I say watch Chicken Little, I'm talking about the 1930s Chicken Little, not the new one. But the new one is an alien invasion, but it's a fake or a false alien invasion, because I think the aliens are good, which is some things that they are saying about this UFO occurrence that just happened in Magé in Brazil. But if this had been an asteroid threat, like we almost had with that horde of asteroids, like 30 asteroids almost hit this planet on April 29th, 28th. So there was that. I mean, it did happen. And we had the closest ELE event ever, and they didn't even know that asteroid was coming. It came 2 days after. And then we have this weird Magé UFO Brazil seeming attack, like War of the Worlds, where we're attacking the aliens, and people on the ground are saying the aliens were trying to help and we shot them down. This is the stories coming up out of Brazil right now, as the Navy and the military again releases the Tic Tac information, UFO information, saying, hey, UFOs are real and that we might just fly into them, so we need to worry about this. But the idea of an asteroid threat or an alien threat would pull us all together. That's the big difference between that and the invisible scourge, right?
Right. Yeah, that's definitely a thought worth thinking about, because if you think about it, that would be a threat that would unite us.
That's what Reagan said, right?
Right. And the way they're going with this whole invisible scourge, like you said, this is dividing us all the more. So divide and conquer, that's what it's called. It's not unite and conquer, it's divide and conquer. So when you think about it from that perspective, this is totally what they need in order to get the power structure in place, or the unified structure. Now they might, after this is all said and done, once they've rolled out their full spectrum dominance on us all, then they might play the alien card after that to further unite the people that are left at the end of it all, to bring them together into unity for the new world order that they want. So that's something to think about too. But here's an interesting thing that I've noticed through the years. Whenever you think about aliens or an alien invasion, for some reason or another, there's always a microbe kind of connection to it. Like, look at War of the Aliens in War of the Worlds. Or it's microbes, right? So you're talking germs. And this has always been a scenario that for some reason has followed right along with the whole UFO theme. And not just in fiction either. If you look at that To the Stars Academy, if you look at the people on the team there, what's his name? I can't think of his name right now.
Hal Puthoff.
Yeah, Hal Puthoff. You look at him and some of the other people on that board. A lot of them are microbiologists. and have degrees in
Yep.
microbiology and epidemiology and things like that, you have to wonder why. Why? This is a team that was put together to ostensibly study UFO phenomenon, and there's always this weird connection for some reason. It's just something I've noticed, and I might have to explore it a little bit further, the whole connection there. But always intrinsically tied to it is this whole microbe threat. So it makes me wonder, like maybe this is just another aspect of this whole COVID thing going on.
Why can't you join the military if you recover? That is a mystery. And if this was an extraterrestrial virus, you know, but
Who knows?
I definitely see Agenda 21, Agenda 30 coming into place, where they needed everybody out of California. They needed everybody off the coasts of Australia. They needed everybody out of the Amazon basin. They're making life in California just absolutely miserable. Everybody wants to leave, because how else do you get rich people to move? You can't just tell them they got to go, right? So human habitat zones forming. You got to be freaking out, Wayne, with 6 children watching the social distancing videos that are coming for what they're going to have to do in school. This really has to be hitting home.
Oh yeah, it's definitely, and that's my main motivating force behind what I do. Is I just want my children to have a future that's not totally dark and dystopian. I want them to have a future worth living through, and not this total panopticon control grid that the power structure has in mind for us and for them. And that's the thing. I mean, I look at these younger generations. We're a little older now, Freeman, like you and I were. I'm in my 40s. I think you're in your 50s, if I'm correct there. Uh, it was a different world for
We're
us.
pre-web.
Right. They've never known a time before the internet or before 9/11 or anything like that. It's crazy. Like my oldest, when 9/11 happened, he was only 8 years old. He didn't really understand it, but even he has a little bit more of an advantage of the younger children I have, who've never known a world before 9/11 or before the internet or anything like that. It's something that's just totally, when we look back at how our youth and our childhood was, it's something that will never be known again by this generation coming up. Like, they won't know what it is to not have a total surveillance system watching them 24/7. It's crazy just to think of how far we've fallen, but concurrently how far the technology has advanced and what good uses it could have. But largely I see it being used for just the benefit of very few at the top of the power structure, and that's something I find really disturbing. And they always roll these things out, touting the benefits that would be for everybody, but then as well as I do, it's never intended for everybody. And that's the whole key to it. So they always put forward these new ideas and technologies with the promise that things will be better in the future with it, but they always invariably roll it out as more of a control system than anything. And it's tiresome to see. I mean, the way we've gone from the analog age to the digital age now. Yeah, things are a lot easier in some regards, but in other regards, how much freedoms have we given up to have this convenience? And that's kind of where we're sitting at right now.
Yeah, I try to tell people that I used to travel this whole country without Google or Yelp. And they can't believe it. How did you get to where you're going? How did you know where to eat? But the truth is that type of travel opened up all kinds of possibilities. It wasn't a pre-written script. I didn't know who I was going to meet. I didn't know where I was going to eat. And it brought about potential in my life that I had no idea that existed if I had just been locked into this mind grid, following my Google map, being led to the restaurant that gets the most stars. I get no interaction. I get no life. I get no potential, because that's really what it is. It's not what you know, it's who you know. You better learn that. And the more and more that you meet, it made life so amazing, and so many things that I would have never thought of doing were happening to me.
Right, and that's a freedom that this generation will never know.
Mm.
And that's a sad thing. I mean, how many great people did you meet in your travels? Think about that. How many really interesting, great people did you meet? How many cool things did you learn How many new aspects of life and how many different perspectives did you get to encounter? I mean, you lived life doing that. You know what I mean? It's a whole different experience than somebody right now where, you know what their existence is looking at a monitor. Think about it. That's where we're at. I mean, people are looking at screens all day long, every day, and I see it with like a lot of these young people that I encounter. They don't even like go out and do stuff with each other anymore. They just sit there either on their phone or on their computer or on their video game system, and they talk over the internet, and that's about it. Like they don't interact in the same ways we did when we were younger. It's not the same. And when you're looking at this whole lockdown situation we're in right now, here's a kind of analogy I like to tell people. Okay, now say you're on this lockdown and you decide you're not leaving your house, and you're just going to get all your information through that television screen or through that computer screen. What would your viewpoint of the world be, as compared to like if you actually walk out into your community and go talk to your neighbors or go down to the local restaurant or something and like interact with people? If your only interaction at any point in the day is that computer screen or television screen, and that's your only reference to what's going on in the outside world, what would you think? You would think this world's a terrible, evil place, that you don't want to leave your house, you don't want to go out there, you might get sick and die. I mean, that's the whole narrative they're pushing through the screen. Now imagine this whole scenario, okay? When that input that you're getting is not from a screen, but it's directly into your brain, directly into your mind. How controllable will you be then? Think about that. And that's where the direction that this thing's going if we do nothing about it.
Without a question. They have changed the image of man, folks, and I don't know if you've noticed, but your texts are being censored. You probably don't even notice unless somebody finally calls and says, did you get those links I sent you? Like, no, there was zero. I have done this. My friends have done it. We're trying to share information. The texts are not going through. So even on this basic level, we're seeing it, guys. Now imagine if it's in your mind, and that's the layer we're going. So it's up to us, guys. We are the ones we've been waiting for, and we are our only hope. So you would be your Obi-Wan or whatever, be the Quetzalcoatl Haderach and get out there and start to raise life's vibration. The Schumann resonance is like peaking like crazy right now. I know everybody's getting more and more psychic too because of the lockdown. And as you get more primitive, if you were to dig in the dirt and get in the garden and do things like that, then these intuitions will come more and more, and it'll be far more striking because right now the brain's on a weird place. And we're going to get deeper into this at the second hour. It's been an amazing first hour. I love talking with Wayne McRoy. Wayne, one more time, tell people about your books or the titles and where to get them again.
Okay, my first book is called The Alchemical Tech Revolution, Fulfilling Ancient Esoteric Agendas Through the Use of High Technology. And my second book is called The Autism Epidemic, Transhumanism's Dirty Little Secret. Those are both available on Amazon or at pretty much any other fine book retailer at this point. Also, I have a Facebook page called Files from the Conspiratorium. People could check out if they'd like. And every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I do a live stream with Jason Lindgren at Secrets of Saturn YouTube channel, and it's also simulcast on the Fringe FM if people want to check that out.
You and Jason, that's another key story of meeting people, of having a life bond that has been united and lost and then reunited in amazing fashion, right?
Oh, definitely. We were actually best friends as children. We were best friends in our childhood. And after Jason graduated high school, we lost touch for 25 years. And it was only through chance, through a mutual friend on Facebook, that we got back in communication again. And it's really, we could probably move that over to the second hour if you'd like. I could tell the whole story. But
right.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, folks, it's amazing. And that's what we're missing out on right now with this. And I don't know what to say, guys. You know, lockdown, not lockdown. You know, will a mask protect you from people's farts? I don't know. Uh, I'm confused because of this military campaign to not allow you into the military if you've had it, and but at the same time, I know that the solution is unity. I know the solution is humanity and us bonding together. And if we really do at this moment have the potential to change anything we want, think about that and decide what it was. Where would you begin? It's an interesting thought game. And then maybe we'll start to figure out where we actually want to be instead of being reactionary to all of these corptocracy, technocracy game plans that have been outlined for decades upon decades and are all coming to fruition, even to the conspiracy theorists' amazement. Because believe me, I'm completely astounded by where we're at right now. But I hope you guys will come over to FreemanTV.com and get all the data. There's so much data there, guys, and I don't want it all lost. So come over and subscribe, because without the members, everything I have done will just vanish. And that's the truth of how we can be mouseholed and just put into a hole and forgotten. Because the moment the server is no longer hosting the shows, everything is gone. So download everything, share everything, take all my YouTube videos, share them all over the place like weeds, and go and watch them. Because one, if you've seen it before, you're a completely different person now, so you're going to get all new stuff out of it. And two, this information I just consider so important, and it's something that it was a labor of love that I really, really worked hard for these 15 years to bring it to you. So please use it. I don't care about any sort of reputation or anything out of that. I just want the information known. And I feel like I've been in this shadow ban hole for quite some time, guys. I've always been held to a different standard on YouTube. I've always been held in shadow banned and blocked, and you know, I don't get any of that attention. I hear every YouTube channel now is going down, and I feel for them. And I don't even want to upload my videos, these current shows, to YouTube. Why should I risk losing all those lectures? There are 15 years of lectures from all the best thought minds in the world are on Freeman TV, YouTube. I don't want to risk losing all of that just to put up some COVID stuff. So I may not upload these shows to YouTube. Because I consider what I already have on YouTube far more important. So please utilize all the information. Come over to FreemanTV.com and subscribe. Help keep this show going. And let me know who you want to talk to, who you want to hear from, what you want to know. And I will work on that, absolutely. Freeman at FreemanTV.com is where you get me. Also, follow me on Twitter. I got to tell you guys, I think everyone that listens to me is following me on Twitter. And I think everyone on Twitter is listening to me. And I think I'm wrong on both accounts. So I really would like to unite those worlds, because my Twitter feed's amazing, guys. And I really want you to dig in at Freeman TV on Twitter. And everything else that I have to offer, I just want you to come and take it. That's all. Just come and take it. Come and use it, share it, use it, and love it, because that's why I'm here. And as Wayne and I have discovered, you know, an extraordinary experience in our lives projected us into this position that we never thought we'd be in, but yet we know that this is what we're supposed to be doing. So thank you all so much. And thank you, Steve Mercer, before I forget. Sorry, Steve. Associate producer Steve. He's the guy to go to get the good guests on this show. So write producer Steve at FreemanTV.com with all of your guest suggestions so we know where you want to go with this show. Producer Steve at FreemanTV.com. Thank you so much. And I will see you guys for another fascinating week. It just doesn't stop. Doesn't stop. UFOs, asteroids, plagues. Yes. So I'll see you guys in the thick of it. Members, let's jump on into the dark side and have a deep, deep talk about life, the universe, and everything. Wayne McRoy.